Hello and welcome to the Garner Brothers. I'm Blaine Garner and I'm here with my three older and much better looking brothers, John, Ryan, and Jason.
Yep.
As brothers, we are very close. And unlike most brothers, we see each other every day. We work with each other, running a small local business. Over the past year, as we struggled to keep our business alive during the COVID shutdowns, we met regularly discussing so many times the changes going on around us, as well as the changes going on in our society and the signs of the times, or as I like to call them, the times of the rhymes. So today we'd like to have you sit in on our discussion as we talk about some of these changes, as well as our belief that many of the signs preceding the second coming of Jesus Christ are happening before our very eyes.
I don't know how to do that on command. So.
Okay, so here we are, conspiracy theories. We're going to talk about conspiracies. So without further ado, let's go.
I don't understand what's going on in the news.
All right, what is a conspiracy? Well, we're about to find out. The way this is going to work is each of us has pre-recorded a conspiracy that we do not feel is a conspiracy, but you may. So let's check out the first one.
Or someone you know, not necessarily you.
Let's check out the first one.
Ever since we were married, my wife and I have maintained a food storage. Always trying to grow it, always trying to replenish and plan for that future event where something would occur where we would need it. And my theory will be that in the next 1 to 2 years, we will be doing just that. We will be living out of our food storage.
What's up? All right. So the first conspiracy is we'll be living off our food storage soon. So let's talk about it. Why would people think this is a conspiracy? What's going on in their minds? We know what's going on in ours. What's going on in most people's minds?
Kind of like what Elder Bednar said in the last conference. Some people think that they haven't heard it lately, so it doesn't apply anymore.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That it happened before, Depression era, and now that we're over that, it's no longer needed. One thing that Ezra Taft Benson said was that we are accustomed to, when we get into trouble, that somebody will bail us out. Something always is, behind the curtains to help us.
Oh, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
And that's not always going to be the case.
But I think a lot of people if you grow up in the church, you hear that all the time. You gotta have a food storage, you gotta have a food storage. And there's really, at least for me, I don't remember anyone saying you have to have a food storage because the famine, before the second coming happens, you gotta have food for it. It's just, you gotta have food storage because it's a good idea.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. Well, watch our fourth video. So, but I think most people think, well, it's just a good idea just in case, you lose your job and you have some food and it can sustain you for a while. But to think that we are all going to be living off our food storage in very shortly, that I think would raise a lot of flags for a lot of people.
It's also a scary thought. It's very scary. So instead of thinking about that thought, let's not and pretend like it's not going to happen.
Triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lord. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Lord.
I think that's a good point. In the church, we don't talk about necessarily why we need a food storage, just that we need to have it. And the typical answers were, what if you lose a job? What if there's an emergency and you need to... There's never been this talk of the real reason why we've been asked to have a food storage. And that's what's coming.
Well, and I was that way until, I started looking into it a few months ago. When you start reading the early prophets and apostles, when they talk about the food storage, they're talking about a specific time. Whereas, the last few decades, it's just a good idea.
Yep.
So, are we crazy?
I'm not listening to you. You're crazy.
I mean, why in the world do we think we're going to be living off of food storage in the next year or two? Because that's pretty bold, right? To say.
Well, it kind of goes in line with everything else. The reason why we're doing this. We see the signs. We know what's coming. So it fits in nicely.
So a little pause here. Where
You can't pause. There's no pause.
he's can pause
I think
it.
our listeners are.
I don't want this
Oh, they're
to be
going to pause.
said.
I'm going to go get a drink.
No, is there something that we can talk about as far as a famine, like a scriptural reference?
Oh, this is a real pause.
Yes, this is a real pause. I'm pausing here.
I don't think I'm going to pause it. No, okay, so for our listeners, for viewers, whatever you are, watch our 4th video.
Okay.
We'll be talking about it at length. But yes, this is a good start. First conspiracy theory to you is that we will be living off of food storage, living off of it. And I guess, to answer your question, why are we so bold as to say, not only going to live off food storage, but it's going to be very soon? And I think one of the reasons, the disconnect between us and some others that have been researching this, and those who haven't, is that we understand the sequence of events that are going to happen.
The Lord spake, saying, First shalt thou take out the holy pin, then shalt thou count to 3.
And if you stick around, watch more of our videos, you'll understand that the sequence of events that leads up to the second coming, the famine, that's next. So, all right, let's move on to the second conspiracy.
I'm moving to Missouri to build Zion. There's still so many signs and so many things that need to happen before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And sometimes it feels like it's never going to happen. But those of us in the know understand that we're not waiting for that day. We're not waiting like the rest of the masses to be caught off guard by the thief in the night. We know that when that day happens, we will have already been living with the Savior in Zion. So that begs the question, when do we go? Well, I'll give you a hint. Look up 3 Nephi chapter 23 and do what the Savior says. And when you do, you may realize that you'll be moving to Missouri with me to build Zion. Man, that's awkward.
Here, go.
I really like that shot, just walking in.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
I feel like
Name in Papa's backyard.
What was it?
I feel like just based on that I feel like you know exactly when we're going to Zion. Do you know when we're going to Zion?
Oh, wait. No, but it's got to be soon. Based on what we were just talking about, based on the order of events that are coming before and the signs that we've seen.
And if that's the case, so why don't we just sell our homes and buy some property?
So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is.
I did.
What?
In Missouri?
I haven't bought any property yet, but I sold my home.
What?
Step one.
I'm just saying, the reason that we don't is because we're not supposed to go yet. Mm-hmm. We're going to go eventually, but we're not supposed to go yet.
And that's why the saints in Joseph Smith's time weren't able to actually build Zion, is because they didn't do exactly what they were told to do when they were told to do it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. My wife and I actually teach our kids that there will be a Zion and we will be there. And I get that question. Well, why don't we, my 6-year-old says, why don't we just go? I hate this house. Why don't we just go? And the answer is always the same, because he's always asking it. We have to listen to the prophet. The prophet has not told us it's time, and so of course we don't go.
Yeah, because your yellow dog's going to die if you go.
Hey, I've looked up houses many times in Jackson County, many times, and I could get a nice one down there. But I haven't done it. Haven't pulled the trigger.
So another reason why people might think this is a conspiracy theory is because they don't understand the concept of Zion, where we've been learning this whole time, and Zion's can dwell in your heart. It's a people. It's a concept.
Right.
We are Zion if we follow and keep the commandments.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That can be Zion, which is true, but this is something different, right? Talking about an actual place.
Right. I think people get caught up in the idea that Zion is a lifestyle and it's within you, and you can't establish Zion until you have changed your lifestyle to be, change your heart so that you can be Zion. But they're still establishing a Zion. They're still building one.
Right. And it is true. Like, you have to be a Zion to enter a Zion.
Right. And I've also heard the theory that that Salt Lake is Zion, which is good and fine and true in a way, but as we read in Doctrine and Covenants, that is another Zion. Even the saints, they knew they were going to another Zion in the west. They said that they were going to another Zion in the west, but the Lord said, Jackson County, that will be the center place of Zion, the New Jerusalem. So I think that's been lost in history. We've,
traditions of our fathers.
Right, and so we have these.
Not Papa. Sorry, no offense, Papa, if you're watching this.
Or anyone else, I guess. So anyway, yeah, I think people have a misconception of what Zion is, but we believe what Joseph Smith taught.
Heading back.
Soon. Yeah. Right, okay. Should we go to the next one?
Next
Do it.
one.
All right, Jason.
And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.